Sorry.
Okay, so got that. Almost there. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, wrong button. All right, here we go. Welcome to episode 2408 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you. Hope you had a great weekend, and more importantly, hope you didn't have to be at a shopping mall this past weekend because, we record these a little bit early. I hope to God I was not at a shopping mall this past weekend. I can't promise that I wasn't, but I'm going to try to avoid that at all costs. That's why I have two daughters, and you can bribe them many times. And sometimes the bribes go up and up as you get closer and closer to the holiday. But at this point, this dad will pay just about anything. How about $100 Starbucks gift card or whatever it takes? I don't know. Because, again, that's why you have kids, because I can't do it anymore. So, but hopefully, some people get into this. I know my wife, it's a competition for her, like for us Disney fans, getting the perfect ADR, like we get a rush out of that. I think my wife sees this as a sport, trying to find the perfect spot, at West County Mall. I just drive past on the highway and see the cars backed up, and it gives me anxiety. So pass. Amazon.com, baby. That's what I'm talking about. But it's time's limited, so get on it. But anyway, the good news about the podcast, you can take us with you, even if you have to be miserable at a mall or Kohl's or whatever you got to go. But we're going to have a good time with a fun trip report today. Get you in the holiday spirit. It's a Christmas trip report. So we're headed out to sunny California, the Los Angeles area, where I can't wait to be here in just a few short weeks, running a few fun miles. We have listener Kristen joining us. Kristen, happy Monday. How you doing?
Happy Monday, Mike. I'm doing really well. And it is sunny out here in California. And I will also be running that half marathon, although you're probably doing some challenge. Like they're probably like you're running for like 5 straight days after you did the Disney World too. And something crazy like that.
So I'm doing the 10K and the half, but I'm not doing I'm not officially doing the challenge because, again, it was speaking of those crazy times, I couldn't get in on the registration day for the challenge because it sold out in a blink of an eye. But I did get the half marathon, so I was grateful for that. And then I was actually in Disneyland in the spring at a media event. I think it was in late March, early April, and I was riding the train at Disneyland. No kidding, I was on the train riding around because I was there solo for the reopening of Toontown when they reopened that. They had us out there, and Scott calls me like in a panic on my phone. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm on the train at Disneyland. Life is so good right now." Because I was by myself, like, I love it, man. I'm on the train at Disneyland. What do you do? He's like, "Dude, there's a spot open for the 10K at the Disneyland races. Do you want me to?" I'm like, "Dude, hang up right now and sign me up." I'm like, "You got my credit card. You know it is." So I got in. I'm not officially in the challenge, but I don't care. I get to run the race, and that's what counts. So you excited? I've never run Disneyland. Have you? Have you done any of those races?
Yeah, I have. I think I've pretty much done every Run Disney event there has ever been. So yeah, I've run the Disney World Marathon. I've done all of the races out here on the West Coast, and I've done, I believe, all of the Florida races as well over the years. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I wanted to get in only because it had been, we'd not had the races out here for so long that I'm like, I have to be in that first time back. So I'll be walking most of it, but I'm excited to experience it again.
So give me and all of our listeners who are going to be heading out to the West Coast, just a couple of nuggets of advice for folks maybe that have run Walt Disney World, but still this will be their first experience on the West Coast. Cause maybe something that's a little bit different that we need to consider.
That is an interesting question. I mean, I think listening to your podcast, pretty much people have hit on the best tips, but I guess I would say I really like how close we are to the starting line right from the hotels. So that is a huge plus as far as, I don't know, you can sort of the night before, I know everyone can't really sleep the night before, but you don't have to worry so much about being up so early. It's really not you're on foot getting yourself to the start line. So so I really, really like that. But I don't know, Mike. I don't know that I have a tip. Have the best time and just realize it's not going to be at all like running through the Florida parks, because a lot of it is out through Anaheim, which is super cool too. I honestly, I haven't even looked at the route. We're gonna go through the stadium like they
I hope
used
so,
to?
because I mean, and I know, Shohei, I don't know if that's a sore point for you guys out there or not. I don't know where your baseball allegiances lie, but I mean, his smartest guy in the world, he's got 700 million reasons to stay in Southern California. He doesn't even have to. My wife's like, well, why would he do that? I'm like, the guy's the smartest guy in the world. He got $700 million, doesn't have to move. Like, he's still in LA. I mean, genius. I mean, maybe he's a Disneyland fan. I don't know. He could buy the Oakland tickets, or whatever he wants. He can buy whatever he wants. But no, I hope we do though, because I'm a historic. I've always wanted to run through the Big A, because I
Yes.
saw it when we drove in the very first time I was there, that a couple of Julys ago, and I'm like, oh my god, that's the Big A, because you see it from the freeway there. And so I do hope. And what I'm excited about too for the half marathon, because everybody says that, right? It's not like World where you're on property the whole time and everything's super Disney controlled.
Yeah.
But honestly, the best race I've ever run, like purely from just a wild experience, was a Chicago marathon. Simply for the fact that there were people on the course
Me
for the
too.
entire 26.2 miles. Like, it was like a party. There was not a section of the course where there were not people cheering you on, or dancing or playing banjos or offering tequila shots or peanut butter jelly sandwiches. It was wild. So I kind of like this hybrid where you're going to get some park time, but you're also going to get to see some Anaheim, some of the real
Yes.
people and out there, and what the city has to offer at the same time. So I'm excited for that. A little different.
And the running through DCA is super cool.
I do like
Yeah.
I like that a lot. So yeah, can't wait to see you out there. So we'll have to hang out there, and I can't wait. It'd be great to be out there. Now, real quick, were you out there? That obviously you were. You said you do all the races. That one year, I think that there were like bad Santa Ana winds or something for I think it was an Avengers race. That was pretty epic.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably what you're worried and concerned about, because that the Santa Ana winds are for real. It's not fun.
Yeah.
But I think we'll be good. Knock on wood. I think it's gonna be a great race.
There's a reason I run on the treadmill every single day, because I'm a big baby when it comes to weather and hills and wind and all that stuff. So we'll deal with it. But yeah,
Chances are pretty good that it's going to be good weather for you out here.
Okay, so let's talk about a little background now before we jump into the trip we're going to talk about, which is a Christmas trip. The circumstances leading up to this were very interesting, especially to me, because your son is an athlete and played intercollegiate sports. And I thought it was super interesting because of everybody knows my story with my daughter. She's the director of basketball operations for the University of Illinois Chicago women's basketball team. So she's in charge of basically running the entire women's basketball program. She designs the uniforms. She's the travel agent for the team. She books the hotels. She books the flights. She books the buses. She gets them all the meals. I mean, she makes sure everything is taken care of for the entire program. And so we don't see her a lot because Thanksgiving, there's basketball tournaments. We didn't see her Thanksgiving. Christmas, in in a week or so, we're going to get to see her for 3 days, but she has to leave early on the 26th because they have practice the evening of the 26th. So it really does cut down on when we can vacation and even just see her here at the house, even though she's just 4.5 hours away in Chicago. You were kind of in that same circumstance because your son was an athlete. So give us some background on that, because I think that makes you really appreciate when these times come around to be able to take adventures like this. But you've had a lot of adventures as well.
Yeah, I can really relate to what you're saying, and that was why I really wanted to share this trip with you, because our son, he plays basketball. We have 3 children. My husband and I have been married for over 30 years, and we have 3 kids in their 20s. And David, our son, he's our middle child, and we weren't with him for Thanksgivings for the whole time he was in college. All 3 of our children went away to college. And so we said, when David's done, he was in Hawaii for college playing basketball.
And by the way, I just got to say, smartest guy in the world.
Right.
I mean, come on. Some people go to North Dakota State. I mean,
Yes,
Hawaii.
right.
Smart move.
Yeah, I know. He really, that he gets that a lot. Whenever, we would be with him and people are like, "You're in Hawaii for college? That's awesome." Yeah. So it wasn't a bad place to go to college for sure. And it suited him so well. So it was a great experience. But we missed him for Thanksgivings and for Christmas, like you were saying about your daughter, David, for Christmas, they would be told by their coach, like, you could leave, your flight could be made at this time on this date. And literally, it was like usually like 2 days. And we would just foot the bill and go ahead and pay for him because we just wanted him to be with them. So he would just be in and out quickly for the holidays. So, but at the same time, our daughter, our oldest daughter, who is 5 years older than our son, she got married. And so she was also starting her kind of life with her husband. And so the first year that Thanksgiving came and our son was away for basketball and our daughter was with her husband's family for that first, I was really sad, and it was a transition and it was like a celebration because it wasn't, everything was as it should be. But the point is that now when David was out of college, we said, we're going to seize this time, and we're going to reinvent the holidays when we need to make it what we want it to be, so that even though our holidays changed a little bit with our changing family, we're going to make it exactly what we want it to be a great experience.
I love that. And I think what it does, it makes you, I mean, you said it so well, right? Because we're kind of in that transitional period in our family, right? Paige is gone. It's not like it has always been, but I mean, it's what it should be. She's becoming her own person. She's leading her own life in
Yes.
Chicago. That's why we spent all this time raising her so that she could be her own person and be a successful young woman. And that's exactly what she is. But now we see it, our youngest she's going to be getting her driver's license in 3 weeks. And she's already taken the ACT, and it's like, oh my God, like, we did, like, the end is near, like, we realize she'll be going away to school in a couple of years, and like, we don't have anybody behind her, which in a way it's like kind of like, yay. But
Yeah.
when you're a sports family, and some people will relate to this, you definitely will, but some people may not. But like, our whole life for the past, because they're 11 years apart, our girls, so we never really got a break from this. Like, we were always going to soccer practice or cheer, tumbling lessons, private lessons. I coached a lot of these. Like, our whole life has been driven by taking the kids to competitions and practices, and all of a sudden, we're about done. So,
Yeah.
it's going to be a wild transition. But then this, like you said, opportunity knocks, and you get to take these kind of trips, and you really do appreciate them, I think, more at the other side.
Yeah. And I would just say, I would give a little shout out of encouragement to everyone going through that transition, because that first Thanksgiving I mentioned, it was just our youngest daughter then, who was in college. And it was just it was a little bit sad, but at the same time, and at that time, it felt really sad. But then now that several years have gone by and looking back, I realize, okay, it did get better. And we kind of reinvented how it would look. So the transitions are hard, but then it all works out into kind of new magic.
Perfect timing, because
New
somebody's
magic.
probably needing to hear this today, because somebody's probably getting ready to have a Christmas. It's going to look a little bit different this year. I like that the fates just got us together, because it's kind of scheduled a long time ago. But sometimes the words hit right when they need to hit. So let's hear about the trip, though. How did this come together? And give us a little background on when you guys went down, because it was last Christmas, and kind of the logistics of everything.
Okay. So as I mentioned, that first Thanksgiving was tough. So this was our first Christmas without our daughters. So we had our son, and we imagine your whole life you've been with your family, all the Christmases, even if it's for a short amount of time. This was our first Christmas without the girls. And so we said, we're not staying home.
Mhm.
We're going to Disney World. So David loves Disney World. He'd been so busy at school, and we had moved. We raised our kids in Ohio, and we moved to California. So we had been living. Now it's been about 12 years in California. So it had been a while since we had been back to Disney World, because we spend a lot of free time at Disneyland. So we said, let's go to Disney World and just spend Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and New Year's at Disney. And then we won't even miss the girls. So that's what we did. That's how it came about. And David, actually, how it all started, though, was our son said to us the previous Christmas when we were all together, he said, you know what? We all have so much. We just need experiences. Let's not even give gifts. Let's just have experiences. Yes.
You know what? The University of Hawaii is putting out some nice citizens.
Yes.
I like this.
Yes. So we took that and we're like, yeah. So actually for Thanksgiving of that year, last year we went to Spain because he'd always wanted to go to Spain. We took him to Spain. But so we went, it's kind of like parents gone crazy. It's like, okay, yeah, we're taking you, we're going to have all the experiences. So we really took that to heart and we made it a really great Christmas experience.
Yeah, because when you hear that from your adult child, right? Like you're because it can go two ways, right? Your adult kids could be like, I'm too busy to hang out with the parents. I mean, because they have a lot going on, right? I mean, they have their own lives, but I mean, if Paige came to me and said, because we've gone to Walt Disney World with her since she was a little kid, but if she could, like, I haven't been there in so long, I'd really like to go again and hang out. Like, I'd be like, yes. I mean, I'm sore all the time from running, but I mean, I'd probably try to do a cartwheel. It'd be really, really ugly. It'd be worthy of TikTok, but I would give it a shot for sure. And then I would, but then the thing is, it'd probably open the door for me, like way overspending. Because I'd be like, Paige, where do you want to stay? And she'd probably stay a place like the Riviera. And I'd be like, okay, let's try strike two. Where do you want to stay for real? And why is it Pop Century? But, like I try to make it super special because, again, when you get to a certain point, we were going when she was 9 and 10. Like I knew we'd probably be back next summer. But when they're, who knows how many times you're going to get to go with them at this point of their lives because everything just changes. So how did it come? I see you guys stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge. I mean, that's a pretty sweet spot to stay.
Yeah, it is a really sweet spot. We are DVC. We've growing up we raised our kids in Ohio, and we became DVC because, like you were mentioning about the sports, all three of our kids were really involved in athletics, and we went to soccer tournaments several times a year at the Wide World of Sports. Our daughter played at a pretty competitive level, and so we were there a lot. So we ended up, we've been DVC. So that also kind of offset some of the pricing for us because then, you didn't have to pay for that. But here's where that Disney math comes in because I'm like, well, our daughters aren't going and, their husbands. So we can, splurge on the other things. So it's a little, you're right. When your son is like, yeah, let's do it. You do kind of just get extra festive and, so we splurged more than we probably should, but we stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge. And he was coming over from Hawaii. So he had a long trip. I listened a little bit to Scott talk about going over to Aulani. Well, it was sort of the reverse for David. So it took him a while to get over here. So my husband and we flew over from San Diego and we spent a few days with family before we headed over. But we got there and we got off the plane. We got to Animal Kingdom Lodge and my husband and I went to Christmas Eve dinner at I'm just trying to remember, over at the Citricos.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Yeah. So it was so fun because it was just he and I for the first Christmas Eve ever without any of our kids. And we sat at the bar at Citricos, like the counter, and had our dinner. It was Mike, it was so cool. It was really, really cool. And we couldn't be sad. We couldn't be anything other than like in the moment because it was so different. And we're at Disney and we're at this amazing restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the Christmas Eve that you've had for the last X amount of years, right? It's not the kids running around crazy in the living room looking like a bomb went off because of, all the scattered, paper, wrapping paper everywhere, the bows, but it's just a different, and think how blessed are you? You're at Walt Disney World, you're sitting at Citricos having an amazing meal in a signature restaurant with the person you love. And, you're just celebrating and you're getting ready to have a great vacation with your son. It's just, again, the theme of this show right here is just transitions, and transitions, they're not bad. They're just, they are what they are.
Yeah. And it was learning for us in that moment of okay, this is what the future can be. It doesn't have to look exactly like what you just said for every single year. So it was really special. Yeah.
So and I'm guessing your son got there after
Yeah.
this, and so what kind of other? I'm sure the reunion was pretty special.
Yeah, it was really, really special. And we're kind of the type of family at Disney, we're DVC. So we throughout the following week, we just kind of ate and drank and did what we wanted and went. We hadn't gone on the rides like gosh, I'm just looking at my notes, the Cosmic Rewind.
Mhm.
So we did that a few times. But yeah, when David, our son, got there, he got to the Animal Kingdom Lodge, and the timing was really kind of odd. So it wasn't on Christmas Eve. He flew in on Christmas Day. So so that was a great reunion, and then we just kind of went from there, and had a really, really fun week doing all the. And we went golfing a couple times. We went to the top of the lounge at the Contemporary, the top of the world lounge,
I love
and
that.
watched the
I'm not
fireworks.
DVC. See, I'm not DVC, but it's good to know somebody that's DVC. Scott's DVC, so I get to go. I get to go with him, and Pam's DVC. So it's like, if you're not DVC, it's just good to have friends that are. So you get because they have the great chocolate cake up there. They have some good appetizers. They have a tequila flight. We've had some good times up there. I enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, and for us, Mike, it was so fun because our son, Disney's so like kind of built into our family fabric because we've all been there so much and we've had all of those types of trips that you talk about and your listeners talk about on the podcast over the years. But for us, this was like a coming back to Disney World that we hadn't been to for a long time. So David just sort of, he's like, let's do this. And we just sort of did whatever, kind of rediscovered all of those fun things that we liked, as well as sitting for hours, having meals and a bottle of wine
Right.
and just kind of, it was such a great mix, but there was no urgency to the trip at all. And we had a lot of reservations everywhere. So it was just really, really special in that way.
It almost sounds kind of like and this is what I think a vacation should be. We had one of these that really it turned into this, and I wasn't planning on it being like this. We stayed with Scott's family prior to a cruise for about 3 nights at Old Key West. We got a 2-bedroom because he's a DVC member, and I paid for half, and he used his points, and we worked it out. And we had all intentions of just doing the parks like we always do, going a lot. But what we found was Scott's family's in Michigan. My family's in St. Louis, and we're best of friends, and our families are really tight. Mallory's friends with his daughter, Emily. They're the same age. My wife's good friends with Elizabeth. But we just don't get to ever hang out, like the only time we're together is at Walt Disney World or on a cruise. And it's always so busy. We're just running from here to there. What the villa afforded us when we had a 2-bedroom villa with a living room and we had a screened in porch, and we had an oven. We got groceries. We got bacon break cookies, and we had, we were cooking stuff. What we found out was there was no urgency at that point for those few days to go to the parks, because we've gone to the parks for 10 years. And at that point, we've ridden everything so many times. We all had annual passes. What we enjoyed most was kind of just sitting in the living room and playing board games and being almost like, just, like we would do at one of our houses. We just don't have that luxury because we live so far apart. We live in 2 different states. And it kind of sounds like it was like a hybrid for you guys. It was like almost like you were hanging out at home at Walt Disney World. But when you got the urge, you could go ride Cosmic Rewind and check it out, or go see a show, or, go play golf, or, have a fancy dinner. So it kind of sounds like the best of both worlds, but meeting at Walt Disney World.
That's exactly that's a great summary of our trip for sure. And I think the one quick thing I'll add to that's kind of funny from that villa standpoint. So we had a Savannah view, and I love just to have my coffee out there and watching the animals. But I sat out there or on Christmas morning before David arrived. We sat. My husband made bacon and eggs and made Christmas breakfast, and I watched the Disney parade from on Christmas morning. I'm like, I've never even seen the Disney parade at home, and here it is. Like, we're doing Christmas, and here we're in our pajamas on Christmas morning, like watching the Disney Christmas parade at Disney World, having breakfast at our villa. It was so funny, but it was, and a mimosa. It was great.
Don't confuse people. You saw it on TV. It does not happen at Walt Disney World on Christmas morning. Don't go there on Christmas morning expecting to see this thing marching down Main Street. It happened back in November, like
oh my gosh,
maybe October. I don't know. They record that sucker a couple of months ahead. No, you saw it on TV. So no,
that's exactly right. Thank you for that, Mike. Yes.
I've had people email me like, we didn't see the Christmas parade. I'm like, because you were like 2 months late. But no.
In my head, it was happening, right? Because I was there. And it was, even though it was on my TV at the.
No, yeah, that's great. And I mean, I love Animal Kingdom Lodge. It's Savannah View. You're right. I mean, it's as close to the cruise ship experience as you can get on land, I think, because I love getting a veranda on a cruise. And same thing, getting in the morning, I grab a Coke. I get up and work out super early. Then I grab my Coke Zero, sit on my veranda and just watch the ocean or, pull it into port. I just love the views. And it's, Animal Kingdom Lodge, kind of same thing. Grab a Coke Zero, sit on your balcony and watch the zebras or the wildebeest or whatever. It's just it's what you're paying for. You may as well enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I'll just add one more thing too about that. I think one of going into a Christmas trip, I was like, oh, I've never been away from home on Christmas. And I saw the candlelight processional 3 times.
Oh,
I watched it. I had heard people talk about it, and I even asked a question to the podcast crew about that, about getting like the advanced reservation where you pay a little bit more. But I loved it. And it being the kind of the whole story of Christmas with the Bible verses and the choir. So I went 3 times. And yes, I would go to the little booth at Epcot and get my glass of wine and my cookie. And I would sit watching. So I saw like Marie Osmond and like 2 other that were the narrators. That it was awesome. It was so great. And my husband and my son went one of the times with me. And then the other time, Dave, my husband, wanted to go back to the hotel. He's like, okay, once is enough, Kristen. And then my son, he went and did something else. But that was a highlight for me to bring kind of that Christmas to meet how I experience Christmas, because we go to church on Christmas Eve too. So we didn't even do that. We're at Disney. So that was a really, really fun thing too for me.
That's a good way to make that connection. We do the same thing on Christmas Eve. We go to my in-laws. My wife's big family. We all exchange gifts. Then we leave in enough time to come back to our house, and there's a church right down the street. We go to Christmas Eve service where you do the candles and. Right. Everybody, the wax drips on your hand while you're singing, Silent Night. You're trying not to get burned and blow them out. And then it's midnight. If I didn't do that, I feel like it wasn't Christmas Eve, but I like that, hey, if you got to have something, your candlelight. I've never had the package. Everyone always asks me, is the dining package? Well, I'd say yes, get it and have fun with that. But I've always said, I've seen candlelight processional 2 or 3 times in my life, just standing in the back, like basically on the sign for the American Adventure, and it's just as moving in the back. And the cheap seats move you just as much as the front row. If you're listening
well said. Well said.
I mean, that's where I sit at most sporting events too. I'm kind of like Bob Uecker back in the day. If you're my age, the old commercials. Must be in the front row. No, not really, but it's the story of my life. So now you mentioned a couple things we asked you about. What did you guys think about Cosmic Rewind being Walt Disney World veterans, Disneyland folks? So was that did it hit as popular as most people say?
Yes, I loved it. And with Dave and I, my husband and I, we went on that first, just the 2 of us, because we got there before David. So we were super excited, and we rode that the first time. And it was that old, like when you hadn't experienced Disney, when there's something new, and that's how we felt. We're like those people, when we, so the whole experience of looking forward to an attraction that we didn't know, and, trying to get in the queue and all of it, that was really cool. And then not having any idea about any of it. It was really, really unexpectedly, really, really exciting. I loved it. And so did Dave. Yeah.
You guys seem kind of like daredevilish though. I mean, no motion sickness problems, nothing like that.
Yeah, no, not really. It's funny though. My sister, I'm 53. My sister, she's 58, and she lives in Florida, and she was going, they are not Disney people, but they were going to Epcot for the day. And I'm like, you've got to go in Cosmic Rewind. She got off the ride and she FaceTimes me and she's like, are you trying to kill me? Like, what was that? And I never even thought to like, what? Yes, they did not like it at all.
Yeah, I understand why everybody loves it. It's wild. Like, I mean, it's a wild ride. I mean, it's well done. It does not agree with me. I also, like I said, I'm teaching my almost 16-year-old daughter to drive. She can make me car sick too, like in a blink of an eye. So she'll be
That's
like,
true. I
"Man,
could
why you
see,
rolling over
yes.
that?" So
Why?
you haven't mastered that churn's a little jerky still there, Mallory. We're
That
working on that. So that's the same.
Oh my gosh, I remember those days. I do not envy you at all for sure. But yeah, I could see the comparison to cause you're right. Motion sickness, yeah, it'd be a thing for sure, but it's so cool. It's so well done.
It's well done. Okay, you also mentioned you guys went golfing, and that's something we don't get to talk too much about here on the show. Scott's a big golfer. We sometimes bring it up. I've golfed at Walt Disney World on most of the courses. Where'd you guys play, and any thoughts on that for folks that might be checking that? It's a great time to golf here in the winter in Florida.
It was amazing. It was so, so cool. We're from California and we're big golfers. So, our pretty much our whole family golf. So it's something when we can travel and golf, then particularly for my husband and son. But I loved I'm not a great golfer, but just to be there, even as not a great golfer, it was just as thrilling because we met people from around the country. We golfed twice, and one of the times was a family from the Midwest, and their daughter was being recruited to play golf in college, and she was a high school golfer. And so that was so fun with David being a intercollegiate athlete. So that was really, really special too. So it was a lot of fun. It was really easy. We did bring our clubs, and yeah, I would highly recommend it. It was pretty busy, but they had, it's very well run, and we only golfed the Palm course. And I'm not really I don't know all of the different options, but that's the course that we golfed, and we did that one twice, and it was so nice.
I think I played the Magnolia, which is the sister to the Palm. The Palm and the Magnolia are the two over by the Polynesian behind Shades of Green.
Yeah.
I know they're going through like some renovations over there right now. We played one with Scott. Might have been the Palm though. Yeah, it could have been. Either way, but they're long courses. They're fun though. They're a good time. But I'll tell you, the one I like the best is LBV, the one over by Saratoga and Disney Springs. But I am a terrible golfer, and those things are super challenging. So I think those two are easier, even though they were back on the tour back in like the 80s. Lake Buena Vista golf course is hard.
Oh, that's the harder one. Okay, that's the one that goes through the villas in the
goes through like Old Key West, like over
Yeah.
by French Quarter and Saratoga and Disney Springs. Yeah, it's fun though, but man, I don't know. They're all hard to me.
I know they're all hard, but
airways were more forgiving over the Palm and the Magnolia. Like they were more, wide open. It was skiddier. Or there were a lot of villas you could hit. And Scott drilled a few of them when we played over at LBV. I can tell you, I have video of it.
Okay, there were not a lot of villas that you could hit on the Palm for sure. So that makes a lot of sense because I would have hit the villas as well. Although I probably couldn't hit it that far, but
Scott drilled them. He got a hold of them, and man, I was like, I don't think I heard glass, Scott, but let's get in the cart and let's just drop one here at about 150 yards on the other side of the fairway before everybody catches us. Let's go. Yeah, that was an old Key West villa. I don't know what one. Okay, so another thing so before we leave this trip, because I do want to address, you guys also went to Aulani, and you were going to give us a few tips for going out there because Scott had his trip report, but we also want to drop that in since you have experience there. But any final thoughts from this trip? Because I mean, that's so special to get to have kind of this new kind of, maybe it's not tradition, but a new way to celebrate a familiar holiday, and to be able to have this special time with your son, which, this probably isn't going to be something that happens every year. It might only happen every 5, this is when your kids get older, you got to seize the day.
Well, and I think when you have several children and you have the opportunity anytime in your life to have the mom or the dad, the parents with one of the kids, there's something really extra special about that. Not that it negates any of the other experiences we've had with our whole family together, but never would we have necessarily planned this. We did it sort of as let's do this, so we'll get through it and it'll be, but it turned out to be, it inspired us that we would like to do our whole family trip with the grandkids. We now have 3 grandkids, and our daughters and their husbands as well for Christmas. So it won't be this coming year, but the following year. We have to save a lot of points for that trip and get with you, Mike, on lodging but so I think, to answer your question, it's like just to be open to things being different and let that Disney magic kind of present itself in the ways that you love, seize those things that you love about Disney. And then just you take the experience for what it is, how it presents itself. And for us, it was having our son all to ourselves. I mean, I just got to love on him and hug him, and he's 25 years old, and it was great just to have that time. So like, yeah.
I'm telling you, it does not matter because, like I said, my oldest is 27, and I'm getting ready as soon as we're done recording, watching her on ESPN Plus. Her basketball team's playing tonight, and I'll see her on the bench with her basketball. She's not a player. She just, she's staff, but I still see her as the 7-year-old that I coached,
Yes.
that was mean as crap, like when like as a midfielder, because I coached her that way. I'm like, dude, do not let them girls push you around, because she was skinny. So I'd be like, those girls are bigger than you, but it doesn't matter. Like, you got to be a bulldog out there. If you want the ball, you gotta body up, like, I don't care. So it's the same thing. Like, it doesn't matter when they're 25 or 27, you want to have those special experiences. And Walt Disney World, Disneyland, same thing. Any place in the world, travel affords opportunity to make memories. And I think you did it the right way. No pressure, because you weren't trying to like rope drop and be in it's so hard to be in the theme parks that week during Christmas, right? You guys were just kind of sampling, kind of doing like a best of and what you want to do, and having long meals and times in the, in the room. And that's really what it was, more about catching up and just having, doing the holiday stuff. That just kind of takes all the pressure off and makes it the most fun, I think.
Yeah, and Disney has that special way of being for our family, and probably it's a universal thing, that I remember when we dropped our daughter off at LAX going back to college, and my younger daughter was in high school, and we dropped our daughter off after Christmas break to go back to college. And my other daughter's just crying, like, "Ooh," So I looked at her and I said, "We're going to Disneyland." So we just got in the car, and she didn't go to school that day, and we just went to Disneyland. So this was that same, like, in a way bigger scale. It's like the daughters can't come; they're with their new families. We're going to Disney World, So it's like, that Disney we can all rely on as that place that it's that universal place that is just happy and fun, and brings back all of the memories that you've made over the years. They're always just living within you.
For so many of our audience, now this wouldn't work for the general public, but for our audience, for so many of us, unless you're one of our newer listeners who's just kind of discovering what this is all about and you're trying to kind of learn everything, a lot of us, there's just that comfort level with going back to Walt Disney World. It's like, because when I go to Pop Century, again, like, I mean, that's kind of my place. Like, I remember going there the year it opened with Paige when, again, she's 27 now, and she was like 6, and we were all discovering it together, because I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't a travel agent back then. I wasn't a podcaster. I was just some dad from Missouri that had no clue. We had ultimate park hopper tickets back then. So you showed up. Everything was so simple back then. Like, you showed up, you found out where your hotel room was, and you could do whatever you wanted. You could go to a water park that you didn't have to plan anything. You're like, oh, let's go to Blizzard Beach today. Okay. It looks like it's going to be hot. I mean, that's basically what you did. And we kind of learned from there. Everything's changed, but there's a comfort, because like, you go back and all that nostalgia just hits you. It's so thick. You can just cut with a knife sometimes. And that's good. So we got a little bit of time left, and I wanted to bring up Aulani, because you mentioned that you've been there and you listen to Scott's show. So give us some thoughts on Aulani, because many of our listeners are curious about it, but have never been, like myself. So what do you got for us?
Okay. So my son went to college in Hawaii and on Oahu. And so we, being an athlete, we traveled kind of that in between time when our kids were younger, and we were at Disney a lot. Then when they were really involved in sports and in college, you're spending your money on traveling to their games. So we would go to Hawaii at least once a year for games. And then we would travel to wherever his games were. So I had wanted to get to Aulani while he was there, but my husband really didn't have any desire. He's not a beach guy. And so David was, since this was the year to sort of have experiences with our son, he was going to be leaving. He had graduated. He was going to be leaving the island and kind of taking his first job. So I said, I really want to go to Aulani with you. So he and I flew over. He was living there still and working over on the island. And I flew in and he met me at the airport and we Ubered over to Aulani. And a couple of the things that I just wanted to say was, at my age and being like having all of the Disney kind of experiences that we've had over the years, and then the amount of time that we really hadn't been to Disney World a lot. It's like we hadn't, the Disney magic wasn't lost by any means, but it's like going to Aulani and experiencing it, I had this new appreciation for how well they do everything.
I know
And
it kind of relit your fire, right? That's what Disneyland
yeah,
did. That's what Disneyland did for me a couple of years ago. Not that Walt Disney World wasn't as special, but I got to see things like through a different lens again. It was
yes,
a different experience. Yeah.
that I love how you said that, Mike. I think that's exactly how I felt. It was just like this lens of the appreciating the Hawaiian culture, because our son basically, the culture there really agreed with David, and he loved his time there. I mean, he kind of considers Hawaii as another home, and he just loved it there. And so when we were driving in, Aulani stands out different from the other hotels. Mike will have to, Scott will have to speak to what he thought when he drove in, but I was really taken back by how it looked in comparison. It looked different. It looked special. It looked like it fit in with the Hawaiian culture, not in a tourist way, but more just in a really beautiful way. So I thought that was super cool. And then when David and I were there, we were there for a few days, and we did things like we did stargazing. That was one of the things that they offered at Aulani. And David's really into those type of things as a young man. And we just sat there for like 2 hours, and it was led by whoever that was that Aulani hires to, the experts. And he just answered the questions, and it was really cool. So that was something that we did. We also we painted a picture together. How they offer all of the different things that you can do. So David and I did a night where we just painted a picture of the sunset. And the thing in Hawaii, and being from California, we have great sunsets. There is nothing like Hawaiian sunsets. It is.
Scott was sending pictures and I was jealous, and he's like, Mike, you don't understand. The pictures don't do it justice. I'm like,
Yes.
Shut up, because the pictures you were sending were killing me. They were so good. He's like, you don't even know. They were so much better. I'm like, I bet they were, but you were killing me with your pictures.
Yeah.
They're so beautiful.
Yeah. But he's exactly right. Like when you see it in person, and then you look at the resort, and he was talking about his birthday, his 40th birthday, right?
Yep.
How you're sitting there and everything's open air, al fresco, like you say, but it's like open air. And I'm used to that in California, but this was a whole nother level. And you guys talk about like the cruising, and maybe I've not experienced anything like this, how it was all its own area right there on the lagoon, these sunsets and the trees, and you're sitting at a table and there's Hawaiian music playing live with the ukuleles, and it's just all kind of woven in. We went in March. I don't recall there being it being so crowded. I mean, we were in the pool. We didn't try to get chairs or things like that. It was definitely full, but it was amazing. It was so beautiful. And we went on tours of the culture of the art tour that we did was all about, and like the nature tour of Aulani, and like the uncle, he leads the things by the campfire at night, and all of it was in what I learned from the touring there right on Aulani property, that they were all made in collaboration with the Imagineers and like the higher ups in Hawaiian. I don't want to say any words incorrectly, but like however that hierarchy of their culture is, like not a tribe, but those prestigious people in the Hawaiian culture that are really respected. Aulani consulted with them, and you can tell it's unbelievable how they made that place. It just really, having spent quite a bit of time in Hawaii, they did it well, and it's a really special place. So
That's really why I want to get out there. I mean, one is that, because I've heard a few trip reports, but Scott's really sold me on it. And my friend Adam from Alabama is out there right now. And the more I hear about it, and just exactly what you said has sold me on it 10 times more, because I've always not studied, but I've always been intrigued by the Polynesian culture in general. Like when I was a 6th grade teacher, I always did the book Kon-Tiki with my students and showed them that old Thor Heyerdahl kind of black and white little movie of the
yes,
guy on the raft trying to make the trip there across Polynesia. And just to talk about, like, we always had, because you make them think, right? Could this happen? Like, could this guy survive? I mean, you don't realize, because my students were inner city, very low socioeconomic kids. Like they, for example, my wife still teaches in the district, and she took them on a field trip yesterday.
yeah,
And they went over to Illinois, to a wildlife area in Illinois, to see the migration of these birds at the sanctuary. And they
nice.
they're crossing the Mississippi River. And one of the kids, when they crossed the river, said that was the ocean. And so my wife had to explain that, no, that's not the ocean. That's a river. So the perspective of trying to have a discussion with my students back then of, could this guy on a raft, which means basically like a balsa wood raft, this guy get all the way from like a Polynesian island to South America, like the scale of what an ocean is, and how that,
Yeah.
like I've been on cruises and I still can't really get an idea of the scale of what that would be like, because when you're on a cruise ship that's gigantic and you're out there, you can't see anything, like, but I still don't understand this. So it's just one of those things, like I'm just intrigued by the Polynesian culture. And I love that I think from what I've heard from everybody, and I think you just said it, is that when you leave Aulani, I think a little bit of Hawaii goes home with you. Like you have an appreciation for the culture, and not just, you're obviously going to go home with like lots of great memories of meeting Nikki and lots of pictures and great meals and, the luau experience. Like I said, Scott didn't get to do the stargazing he really wanted to. I think it was canceled because of weather or something. But I think what the best thing Disney can do is that when you go home, you care. Right. You have a little bit of Aulani that's always going to be kind of locked in your heart because of what you've learned while you're there. You have an attachment, even if it's just a little bit. And, when you have these things like those wildfires that happened, a year ago or 9 months ago or so, you're going to be more apt to act to help those people because you have a connection to the islands now. I think that's well done.
Really well said. I agree. I think that that's exactly right. And it took a lot for them to think about that. It not just being a Disney resort, and they don't call it, they call it Disney Aulani. Like they want to make sure that people know that it's not just a Disney resort. It is an actual, a Hawaiian Polynesian culture resort. So really, yeah.
Well, man, we talked about some great stuff. Christmas, Hawaii. I cannot believe it. It's been sports, intercollegiate athletics. We've had it all on today's show. I cannot be more excited, even though it's a Monday. So, wow. And I get to be to Disneyland and hopefully get to meet you here in a few weeks. So good luck in your final stretch of the training, and, eat all the Christmas cookies preemptively for, get ready for the races. And thanks so much for coming on the show and starting another week. What a great way to kind of move into the holiday season and get ready for all the fun we're going to have here to close out 2023. So Kristen, thanks so much for taking the time. I sure appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mike. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
All righty. Don't forget, our show is brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you take care of that next Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, or Adventures by Disney trip, even Aulani. I never say that, but we book Aulani as well. So check it out today over at themagicforless.com. Now, if you're down to the Amazon.com/BRGS podcast, I'm just going to say that right now. Still time to order, especially if you're a Prime member. You can get that in 2 days shipping. But I'm telling you, tick, tick, tick. Do I have it here? Let me see. I think I do. If I really want to make you nervous.
No.
Look at that. We got times ticking right there. That's the 5 and 10 music bed. So you got to get going before you get this. Here it comes. That's right. It's coming.
Wow.
But if you're gonna order, you gotta get going. But do use our Amazon affiliate link. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you to our patrons. You guys make the shows possible. You help us pay for all the video feeds, all the archives of over 2,500 shows at this point. Just all the support that you give us make all the shows possible. So if you could, it's $5 a month. We'd really appreciate it. And you get that bonus show every week called Mike in the Midwest. It's patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. Give me a follow on social media at beourguestmike, Instagram, Twitter, and Threads. And let's see, this week, Christmas Eve, no live call-in show. Guess what? I'll be busy. I'll be at my in-laws celebrating. So no live call-in show this week, but we'll follow the social media. Maybe we'll do one before then because I need to start getting ahead for all these shows. So watch the social media. Seriously, that's one thing I want to bring up. Watch my social media. Watch the Be Our Guest Podcast Facebook page because I am going to be recording some live call-in shows that are going to be like 30 to 35 minutes short call-in shows where you can be the star. You can ask questions. You can give comments. We're going to be getting ahead recording shows. So when I'm at Disneyland, when I'm at Walt Disney World for Marathon, because with the holidays, things are going to get a little crazy and I don't want to miss any episodes, but we're going to have to kind of do what we can to get shows out there. So watch the socials. And when I go live, come on in and give me a call on the phone lines and you'll be on the show. So that's how it's going to work. All right, back to Monday. Let's get through this Monday. We'll be back again on Wednesday with more of your listener questions. But until then, for Kristen, I'm Mike, wishing you a great Monday. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. That was awesome. Thank you so much. What a great show. That was a good one.
Oh, good. I hope I didn't just kind of go all over the place. But thank you, Mike, for having me. And good luck with your daughter with the game.
Oh, yeah, I got to turn that on. 7:07. Hopefully they're winning. I appreciate it.
Okay, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. You need anything, you give me a yell, and I'll see you out at Disneyland. Make sure you come and see me.
Okay, I hope to meet you.
Super tall. Okay, I'll see you later.
Okay, bye-bye.